Hey everybody, it's Josie. Welcome back to Cedar Creek Homestead. We're on our day 10 time to make our Amish friendship bread, and it's a type of a sourdough starter. And the first thing we're going to do on day 10 is feed it one more time before we divide out the starter to share with our friends. And it's still, if you were on the first video, you saw when it was time to feed it on day 6. It was 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, and 1 cup of milk. And it's the same today. I'm going to put 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, and 1 cup of milk right in there. And of course, it's not Josie without spilling some of it. I'm going to use this chopstick just to get it all stirred up. Now, you don't want to use anything metal like this when it comes to mixing up your starter. Now, when I bake the bread in just a minute, I'm going to be using this, but then that's the baking process, so it doesn't matter then. But when you're working the starter itself, you don't want any kind of metal container or metal utensil. You want to use wood or plastic or rubber, silicone, anything like that. And we're going to get this all mixed together. And you can see it's increased in volume by quite a bit. Okay. Looks like right now it's resembling a really thick pancake batter. Okay, so I hope that you can see that. It's ready to go. Now, what the purpose is to divide this starter out into 3 1-cup starters. You're supposed to keep 1 cup starter and give 2 1-cup starters to some friends so that they have their own. And then the remaining that's left, we'll pour it up in a bowl and we'll add our other ingredients into it to make, for this particular recipe, it makes 2 loaves of Amish friendship bread. But there are a lot of other recipes that you can use this starter for. And I'll give you that information a little bit later. So first thing I'm going to do, now I would say if you're going to give these starters to a friend, you might want to put it in a gallon Ziploc bag, because that's going to give them room if they choose to keep the starter in that gallon bag to have room. You can see it's not going to, it wouldn't fit in here. I'm going to try my best not to make any more of a mess than I have to, but you guys know how I am. So I'm going to just put this little bag in here, and I'm going to pour up 1 cup of starter, and put it in that Ziploc bag. Of course, we're going to be washing this container, so even though it has batter down the side of it, it's going to get washed. And so we're just going to pour that in there. And I'm going to use a rubber spatula to get out their whole measurement for them. And you'll just zip it up, make the recipe, handwrite it or print it out, whichever way you want to do it. You want to get a little bit of the air out of it and give it to your friends. Now, what they'll do, if this was a gallon Ziploc bag, they're going to get it the first day. And then you're going to give them the instructions. And each day, they're just going to knead it. If you keep it in the bag, you just simply do this. Knead it all around. And that's all you do. You might now, as the days go by and this begins to work, the bag is going to puff up. Even a gallon Ziploc bag will puff. Where this has room inside here to expand, and you have a cover over the top of it so that it can escape. Your Ziploc bag, it can't escape, so it's going to balloon out. So you just need to make sure that you include it in their instructions that if they leave it in a Ziploc bag, each day they just need to burp it. Open it, release the air, make sure that they let the air out, and then put it back. just like that. Now what I'm going to do with mine, instead of passing them along, because I want to get a few starters going, I'm going to put these in 3 different Ziploc bags, quart size, and I'm going to put them in my freezer. Now that'll kind of put them to bed for a little while, and when I want to take this out and use it, I'll take it out on the counter overnight and let it thaw, and then I'll feed it and get it reactivated, and we'll start again. So that's what I'm going to do with these, is pour up 3 starters, and then I'll show you what we're going to do to make the bread. Now that I have my 3 Ziploc bags taken out of the starter, which are 1 cup starters, I'll put those aside, whether we're going to give them to friends or we're going to freeze them or whatever we're going to do. Now I still have quite a bit of batter left in here, and this is what we're going to make our bread with today. So I'm going to pour it off in this bowl, and of course I'm going to use my rubber scraper to get all that goodness out of there. Now you'll be able to tell if something went wrong with your starter, besides it not growing and expanding and bubbling, if it has a pink color to it, or if it has a yucky brown color to it, or something like that. You'll know that something didn't quite work right. Okay, I'm just going to stir that up a little bit. And you can kind of see the batter in there. And now it's time to get this put together. And you're going to need 2 large loaf pans that have been greased and sprinkled with cinnamon and sugar. And you're going to bake this at 325 degrees for an hour, or until your toothpick comes out clean. We're going to build this recipe all in the bowl together. You don't have to worry about having separate bowls for dry or liquid ingredients. It goes together really, really simple. So the first thing that we're going to put into the bowl with the starter is 3 eggs. And then you're going to need, sorry, I'm reaching for this. You're going to need 1 cup of oil, a 1/2 cup of milk, 1 cup of sugar, a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and then comes your spices and your leavening agents. And so then I have 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That all goes in there. You're going to need 2 cups of flour, and then you're going to need 1 small box of instant vanilla pudding. Make sure it's instant vanilla pudding. We're going to get that all in there. And now it's just simply a matter of getting it all mixed up. Now I'm making the basic recipe today, but you could add in nuts or raisins, chocolate chips, anything that you wanted to add in. You're welcome to. This is a moist bread. It makes 2 big loaves. Comes together really fast. Okay. And you just divide it between your 2 pans. the rubber spatula to get the last drops out of there. Okay, now the very last ingredient that we're going to need is some cinnamon and sugar. Now I made a quick bread before and it had a cinnamon sugar to the top of it and a butter that you brush on it as soon as it comes out of the oven. But we're actually going to put this on the bread as a batter. This measuring cup is 1/3 of a cup, so if you this covers really well on this bread. So this is what it ends up looking like. It's going to go into a 325-degree oven for an hour, and then we're going to let it cool for a little bit. So the bread is in the oven. I've got the mess cleaned up a little bit. Got my hands washed off. I don't know about you guys, but I can stand to do all kinds of work out in the dirt and everything else that you get on the farm, but I cannot stand my hands to be sticky. That's just something that I have a problem with. So while the bread is baking, I thought I would tell you a few things about this Amish Friendship bread. Now, there is a website that you can go to. It's called friendshipbreadkitchen.com. On there, you'll have all kinds of answers to the most frequently asked questions. There's lots of recipes that shows you how to use your starter for more than just bread. It tells you how to make this without using the instant pudding, how to make your own pudding to use in it, or how to make it without even using that at all. It's a really interesting website, and it has lots of great information. Now, I've had a few questions about the milk that you use in your starter, whether you could use nut milks and soy milk. And from what I've gathered, you're able to use soy milk, you're able to use any kind of nut milk, and it should work just fine. Another question that I got was whether you could use gluten-free flour. So I read on the website about the different kind of flours. And I didn't get I didn't find a recipe where they actually made the Amish Friendship bread with gluten-free flour, but I did see where they show you how to make another starter that would be gluten-free, and we will probably in a few weeks maybe do that starter, just so we're well-rounded on different kinds of starters that you could have around your home, to make it easier to have bread products if you had trouble getting them for whatever reason. Well, the bread's got to bake for about an hour, and I got to clean up the dishes while it's going, so we'll be back when that bread's ready. So here's the finished product out of the oven and cooling. Now, full disclosure, when I was dumping them out of the pans, that back loaf there, I dropped it and broke the end off of it, so it's right here in this bowl. Shame on me. But anyway, you can see that it bakes up really nice, has the house smelling really good, and I hope you guys enjoy this recipe. Now, one more thing before we go. On your Amish Friendship bread starter, or anything else for that matter, make sure that you write on it what it is and the date, because when you put this in the freezer, if you're anything like me, you'll forget what it is if you don't label it. I've through the years put things in the freezer thinking I'll know what it is and pull it out, and honestly I don't. So make sure that you label your things, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Till next time, guys, this is Josie. I love you, I really do. Keep looking well to the ways of your household. We're gone.